everyone, it's Carrie here from the Female Entrepreneur Association, and welcome to a very special weekly dose of inspiration to build a successful business. So first of all, let me just say Happy New Year. I hope that you are ready to have the most incredible 2015 ever. So probably for every single one of us, something that we've probably thought about is how we can create more financial abundance in our lives this year, because this is a really important thing for all of us. So to help us with this, we are joined by the incredible Anne Wilson, who is the author of the fabulous new book, The Wealth Chef. And she's going to be sharing some things that we can all be doing to help us with our money this year. So Anne, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here, Carrie, and I love talking about money, and no better time than in the beginning of the year when we really got that chance to, get into our wealth kitchen and go, let's sort this out and really get money working for us for a change.
Exactly, and I love it. And I think this is the thing with it being the beginning of the new year. Most of us, all of us should be doing this, but we should have thought about, our money situation this year. And all of us want to improve it and we want to create more financial abundance in our lives. But I feel like this is it's a huge topic, but it's something that so many people tend to struggle with. They tend to not be able to quite break through and reach those financial goals they set themselves, or constantly feel like they really know they want to get there, but they almost feel like pressed up against a glass window, and they see the money they want on the other side and the financial abundance they want, but they just can't seem to break through. Yeah. You must see it all the time. And obviously you have written this amazing book, The Wealth Chef, where you share obviously lots and lots of tips on how people can get where they want to be financially. So I'm excited to jump into this with you, this topic, and talk about some of the tips that you have that people can put into action to help them with this year, so they can make 2015 the most incredible year financially for themselves. So let's just jump straight into it.
Absolutely. And I think you hit such a key point about people wanting to get there, that financial abundance. And I think one of the reasons why one of the most terrifying statistics that I know, and this is around the world, why less than 3% of the population, and this is across socioeconomic ranges, actually achieve this place called financial freedom. This point at which they have sufficient money, but really it's more about having assets, these things that can earn money for you, in place so that they can actually live the lifestyle that they want without having to continue to bring money in actively. And to me, that's just barbaric and so sad. And mostly that is purely because of this, we're not taught about it. And the first key point that we're not taught is actually, what is financial freedom? Yeah. What is that goal? And so it's no wonder that so many of us flounder around in the dark. And I did for a long time until I really got this, and then started my own journey and got to this place where now I have sufficient assets that I can live the lifestyle I want indefinitely for as long as I want without having to work actively if so I choose. And this is really what I'm passionate about, is helping other people to get to that same point, but also how to live a really juicy, abundant life while they're creating that. So let's dive right in, because I could talk forever. There's so many different aspects here. What is that end point? What is that goal? Because if you've got no idea where you're headed, it's impossible to start that journey. If you don't know where you're going, any road will go. So what is financial freedom? Firstly, let's understand the concept. Financial freedom is where you've got enough assets that can earn you an income to meet the cost of your chosen lifestyle without you having to earn actively. Now, what is so key, so often people then focus on, okay, so what's the size of that asset pot? But that is not the first point to start. The first point is to go to the other side of the equation, this magical place of what is your chosen lifestyle? And it might sound like, oh yeah, whatever, Anne, but it's so, so key when we first got to start and go, what is wealthy for me? What is wealthy for you, Carrie? What would that lifestyle be? And initially it's easy to get caught up in a bit like that, thinking of what happens if I win the lottery. Oh, well, I'll have 72 holiday homes on the yacht. But when we clear that clutter away and then go, okay, what actually would just be a lifestyle? What's the life I'd love to really be living? What would I really be doing? And for a lot of people that might be, actually for me, if I was in a point where I could continue living the same lifestyle I had right now, but not have to worry about and I knew that indefinitely I would have enough income coming in to meet that, wow, that would be a great place. For some people, it might be another point, but it's first getting really clear on that. Because once you can define that, you go, okay, well, what is the cost of that lifestyle? So a good point is first to go and explore. Use this beginning of the year to use your imagination, but really get specific. What is the cost of that lifestyle? But to get a starting point while people go off and do that, let's take your current lifestyle cost right now and just think. Imagine if there was a big enough asset part that you could choose right now to stop having to bring your money in actively in any sort of form of work or job. What would that be? So take your current monthly living costs right now and go, okay, what is it? What does my current lifestyle cost me? And for a lot of people, that might mean they're going to have to go out and work that out, because this is what we'll come to next, getting clear of what's going on in your money world. But come up with what is your current monthly expenses of living this lifestyle. Then what you want to do, so everybody right now, get out a pen and paper, open up that calculator on the piece of wood, because you're going to become part of an elite group of less than 5% of the population who actually knows what their financial goal is. Amazing side here. Take that monthly income, the monthly expenses, which for some people, a lot of it is just their income because it flows straight out, but their monthly expenses, multiply that by 12 because you want to get an annual amount. In money stuff, you really want to start thinking annually, because this is how you start thinking about rates of return and all of those sort of things. So get an annual number, annual cost of your chosen lifestyle, monthly times by 12. Now you've got that number. So now you want to work out what's the size or the net worth of the assets. And we'll get a little bit more into what those assets are, but assets that can earn you an income. So now you're going to take that number and you're going to divide it by 0.08. So why 0.08? 0.08 represents 8%. Now, why are we saying 8%? Because your aim as a wealth chef, this is where you're mastering this ingredient called money and really getting it working for you, is you're going to be targeting to get your money working for you at a rate of above 12%, 12 to 15%. And you might go, and you're crazy, I can only get 3% in the bank right now. Don't worry about that. That's exactly why you're learning about money, because 12 to 15% is absolutely achievable base target. But we always want to overpromise. Well, should I say underpromise and overdeliver to ourselves, to everybody in life. And so we calculate the size that we want based on 8%, which gives us a bit of a buffer, a conservative buffer, and factors in things like tax and a bit of inflation. So you're going to take those expenses, the annual expense, divide it by 8%, 0.08, and ta-da! You're going to look at your calculator and see what for some of you might look like a pretty big number. So just keep breathing, don't panic. But here's the thing, this is really exciting. Possibly for a lot of you, the first time ever, you actually know what your financial target is. Financial target of your net worth, the amount of assets you need, at which you could then go, I can keep living this lifestyle indefinitely because my money will earn the income for me. So that is what's really cool. So keep breathing, because now as we go through, we don't have a lot of time today, but I'll give you some key tips. But certainly in the Wealth Chef book and elsewhere, you'll learn exactly how to create that. So first thing, now you know what your target is, which is absolutely key and liberating.
So can I just ask a quick question, because I don't know whether I just got confused. So you work out your expenses for the year. Well, you work out the monthly and then times that by 12, so you know your expenses for the year. And then you work out how much money you're bringing in monthly.
You don't worry about your income right now.
So you're just doing assets.
We are working out for you what the size of assets you need so that you could choose not to have to work and bring income in actively at all, because your assets do. So what you're working out is this lump sum, this net worth amount, that at that point you'd go, okay, I'm financially free. So let's unpack. So it's a lump sum amount. So it might be £1 million, it might be £2 million. It's the value of that asset base. So now let's get and say, well, what are those assets?
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Okay, because that can come. So now there are 3 asset classes. Well, actually there are 4, which are key. So let's talk about those. The first asset group are equities. This is stocks and shares. This is where you own a slice of another business and you benefit from the growth in that business and the revenue, the profits, without you having to pitch up for a day's work, which is really cool. So that's the equity asset class. The second asset class is income property or investment property. This is not the home you live in. This is property that can work for you and earn you an income. So this is residential, retail, commercial. So these are 2 of the classic asset groups that a lot of people will know about. The third asset group are passive income or passive income flow businesses. So this, for a lot of the entrepreneurs listening here, this is about how do you have your business working for you without you and bringing you money without you actively having to. So this could be online programs, membership sites. This whole aspect of the online world has created this huge possibility to create these. Anything where you use systems, processes, other people's time and other people's money to work for you, where you can use leverage. So there's also offline businesses, but anything where there's a product or you can leverage and that has an intrinsic value and can bring income. So this is this key third asset group. But the final asset group is actually ourselves. Ultimately, we are our greatest assets because it's about expanding us. We can get those other 3 asset groups working bigger. But the value that you're aiming for now for that financial freedom number is that a combination of your equity portfolio, your stocks and shares, your property portfolio, and your passive businesses will earn you an income at a rate of greater than 8% per annum. So that'll be based on their value. So it's understanding that. So that is the target, that the combination of those 3 asset groups will have a net worth value that can earn you that income. So then you can then start to go, how do I put that financial plan together?
So for example, I don't know how many. I know I haven't got any investments in stocks and shares and property. It definitely is something I would want to do because I feel like making your money work for you is the most incredibly important thing. That's something that a lot of us don't do. I'm obviously one of them. Because it's one of those topics that so many of us don't really know anything about. I feel like whenever I start talking about it or start listening to it, it feels like another world. And I just kind of like want to run back home to my entrepreneurial little world. But obviously you are talking about businesses as well. A lot of us, obviously all of us probably watching, do have online businesses that we can build to generate that passive income. So are you telling people that they need to work out what the value of their business is?
One of the things that can often be a very difficult thing, especially with online business and where we're still involved. So it depends. This is a huge category in and of itself, is the value. So what you can do is going, okay, so I've managed to create a certain, or my target is to bring a certain amount of passive income in through the business. You take that income, and if you know that it can continue working for you indefinitely, and this is one of the fine lines, but you can take that income off the total expense amount that you've calculated per annum, and then it's the remaining amount of the expenses that you would want in equity or property, and then you would have the net asset value, the underlying value of that property or the equity as your target sum. The challenge with online businesses often, and those is how do you ensure that they can keep flowing that income? And there's a lot of ways to get that, but so it's always better to underestimate and be a little bit conservative. And why I really recommend that a lot of entrepreneurs just consider branching out and having more than one asset group is really this proverbial not having all of your eggs in one basket. I know it's an old cliche, but it's about things go through different cycles, and starting to gain confidence in something like the stock market, which is so much simpler than so many of us are led to believe. I do believe there's been a conspiracy out there to almost make it seem complicated, scary, risky. One, it suited the financial industry to make it so people pay vast amounts of money to financial planners already, quite frankly, not great products, which don't work for them, but work for the person that sold them to them. And they said there's a lot of languaging which can feel intimidating. When you start on any new thing, and I know when I started, it was like, I'd pick up books, and firstly, I thought these were great for insomnia. Could put me to sleep. It was like, I go, oh my God, I really wanted to get money working for me. And I knew that just focusing on earning income was never going to get me to that place to be able to get off this treadmill and get to a place where I could just feel supported by my money. But it was like, God, this is such hard work. And a lot of what I do is about stripping away that jargon. And when you truly understand, and what the most exciting thing is, if you're a business owner, you're going to find that actually you understand investing in the stock market so much easier than you may believe, because it's about just understanding businesses. But it's one of the easiest asset classes to start and put on an automated cycle. It is like almost your evergreen model for your online, because you can set up a very simple automated investment in a really secure stock market based investment vehicle called index trackers. And maybe we go into that deeper when we have a hangout or other side, because I know we don't have enough time here. But I think it's a really key thing to start, because you're starting to spread your risk. You're not having everything in just only one business, one asset. And that is where it's so dangerous. And I see so many people, because in their own business, they keep reinvesting in that. They might be creating some passive income streams and getting that flowing. But so often all the money is reinvested in, and they're not creating a more stable foundation, where ultimately you're aiming for your financial well-being to be a form of a pyramid. A pyramid is the most stable structure, where you want to have other sides that can support you. Otherwise, you've only got one leg to this table, and that's where it can fall over. And so equities is one of the lowest access from a cost point of view, the lowest barrier of cost entry to get invested in. You can start from a single index tracker with £30 a month. And this really gets to me, the next key point is starting to create new wealthy habits. Because often people say, well, when I've got a lot of money spare, then I'll look at investing or bringing in these other assets. But the point is that never happens, because you've got to start wealthy habits. Creating your own financial freedom, becoming great with money, is 80% the habits that we set up in our lives. And this first habit is allowing yourself to keep some of the money you make. It might sound really strange. You go, well, Anne, I can keep all the money that I make. But if you truly look at the flow of money through most people's lives, it's as though we believe there's this rule that we have to get rid of money as quickly as we can, even if it's about reinvesting it back into our business. But there's almost this permission piece is, I'm allowed to keep some of this money. I don't need to either spend it on stuff or reinvest in the business or drive it around. This radical concept going, this year, the first key habit, and this is transformational, people go, I'm going to choose amount of money that every month that is going to stay in my life. And then the next step after allowing it to stay in your life is converting it into an asset that can start working for you. But this key step, and this is about, it's not a mind shift of going a saving. It's a principle of saving is about allowing some of that money to stay in your life, but it's really this key paying myself first. This, I am worthy of some money staying in my life. Because here's the tragedy: if you don't keep some money in your life, it can never start working for you. And for so many people, this is the first side, is just to break that. But then the second part is going, okay, some of this money is going to stay in my life. Now what do I do with it? And now going back to that big number that we all calculated a few minutes ago, some of you are going to be going, this is just depressing. How am I ever going to make all of that money to get to this size of money? And this is so key. We are taught in a very linear way to think about money. We think about earning X amount of money and then the pot building up, and we stash away that money to get to X point, because we truly don't understand how money works and how money grows. Of that number that you calculated, less than 20% of that amount of money is actually going to be made by you or your business. 80% of that number is going to be created by your assets, because this is the magic of compounding, of truly understanding that money is designed to grow, but only if we first keep some in our life, and then second, put it in a conducive environment where it can use this rate of return in a conducive environment together with time to go on and earn that money for us. And it's such a concept that when we think in a linear way, it's really hard to see how that works, but only through experience we realize this exponential growth. But this is the thing, we've got to get money, allow some money to stay in our life, then convert it into some form of asset where it can actually work. Because here's the thing, money wants to work, and if we don't put it to work, it will just move and flow to somebody else who does understand it. And I sometimes use the word that money flows to those who value it the most. A lot of people say, but and hang on, I really, I want money, I need it in my life. But valuing money truly comes from a place of understanding that every pound has an unbelievable potential of what it can create. And so if we're so quick at getting rid of money in our lives, we don't truly value it, because we value it to create this one little step in between, that we plant that seed, we convert some of that money into an asset that something can work, and then we consume. So it's not about delayed gratification. It's actually about saying yes to the things we really want with this one little step. But most of us have never been taught. Our education system, even in businesses, is all driven at how can we earn more money.
Yeah.
So we have patterns about, if I can just earn more money, then I'll be okay. If I can just get that next client, if I can create that next product, if I can create the new income stream. And income is important, but it's not the most important ingredient in creating wealth.
That is so fascinating.
It's assets.
You're right, it doesn't get taught, and we do focus on like how can we generate more income, and especially in education, we never told. We were having a conversation about this recently with someone about how it's absolutely balmy that in schools and things we are not taught one of the most fundamental things, that's how to manage our money. So that's why most of us are floundering when we like become like adults and we just have this money, we don't know what to do with it. And I think it's like, I know your story when we've chatted previously about how you went through this process yourself of of kind of like not being where you wanted to be financially, and like not being able to kind of work out.
Well, going backwards.
Yeah. But I think this happens to so many of us, and then it just feels like this like fogginess of and scariness of trying to figure out, how do I understand wealth and how do I get it to work for me? And I think what you just said then is so key, that probably a lot of people haven't thought about, in the sense that income is important, but what's more important is how to make your income work for you so that it grows. And that's such a key thing. And I think I think I'm going to make it my challenge this year to take my money further. You said something as well really key earlier, which was about having multiple streams of income. That's something I've always believed in. I've always thought it's absolutely crucial, because relying on one thing to generate revenue is such a risky strategy. And maybe it will pay off and it'll be fine, but I think it's, if you can, like you said, and if it is as simple as just understanding something, and even if it is just putting in like £30 or $30 a month to see and figure out how something can grow, and just doing that for a year, by the end of the year, you're going to have learned so much about it that you can figure out more. And then maybe at some point you might decide you've got enough, or you want to then start doing property and like investing in properties and bigger assets. But just getting started, I think it's so key. So I'm definitely going to make that my challenge this year. So I'm excited about it, and obviously your wonderful book will be very helpful along my journey, and everyone else's too. So yeah, we've talked about obviously so many things, but it's been so fascinating. I've absolutely loved talking to you about this. I just think it's so important.
And I'm absolutely passionate about it, because I just see so many women in particular who we've come so far on our journeys of empowerment and exploring our unlimited potential. But there's this area around money that somehow we focus on how to earn it, bring it in. But there's still some of it taboo about, firstly, allowing ourselves to keep some of it, really going, okay, I'm going to look after my own financial well-being, and I'm allowed to. Around this, I've got to look after everybody else first, including the business, our babies, and then maybe if there's something left over for me. And then just this barrier around languaging and area. And I've seen so many women, once we just get it and first give ourselves that permission to go, actually, and realize this isn't something to be embarrassed about. No one popped out the womb a financial genius. We aren't taught this stuff. It's a learned skill. But really, for me, if we 2015, the year of that, okay, how cool. We're bringing income in, we're creating businesses, but let this be the year of where we get intimate with our money, where we actually start giving it great direction. And so it actually can be directed to creating the life we really want. Because while we're building up that big asset pot to that ultimate point at where we could choose to stop working actively, the key is also to live this great, juicy, wealthy life right now. And when we get intimate with our money, when we see ourselves as if we're CEOs of the business, but we see ourselves, this is the business called my life. And money is a key input into any business about how do I direct that money with such specificity and clarity and give money real clear direction as to what the hell I want it to do for me. And that is, to me, is really exciting when we can shift and go, money actually just wants us to give it great leadership.
Yeah. That is
and then magic happens.
That is such a great mindset on money. I love it. I love it. Thank you so, so much for sharing those amazing tips with us and for giving us a lesson, I think, on wealth, on money, because I think you've shared an angle that so often that we don't talk about and that we completely miss when it comes to money. So thank you so much for doing that.
It's an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to connect again, Carrie.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to leave all the details about Anne's book, The Wealth Chef, on the blog post and some more exciting things that we have going on. So definitely check all that out. And I would absolutely love to hear your opinion on this. Is money something that you struggle with? Do you feel like you always focus on income rather than actually how to make your money work for you? I think this is such an important topic for us to talk about. So definitely, if you can, head over to the blog and leave a comment. But I hope you found this really inspiring. I really hope that it helps you to have an incredible financial year this year. And I will see you next week for another dose of inspiration.